check this. Oh, get some light up in here. Good evening, everybody. Window just flashed. Okay, move that over there. Okay. What's up? It's a little late this evening. I had to run to the restroom, but we're back. Doing my usual, checking on, make certain everything's connected right. Yes. Good evening, Yarnies. I'm stealing that term. Okay. Need to move my keyboard because I don't think you want to see me type because that's kind of boring. I had to go to the bathroom. I wasn't going into details. Okay. So, you moderate me to steal it. What? You're not a moderator. Alrighty then. So, I gotta figure out what we're doing today. Well, I know what we're doing, but I gotta find the right. Okay. Was not prepared. So let's just jump right into it, to the temperature blanket. So what's everybody been up to? You're a moderator of the word. Oh, you own the word now. Have you copyrighted it and patented it and trademarked and? Okay. So we're back to temperature blanket, and first two rows I'm doing are purple. The North Fairy, where's your better half? Are they around? Not that it's that I don't want you in here. I was just curious. Wait a minute. You're drinking coffee, quilting, drinking wine, crocheting, or repeating all at the same time? That's like a master crafter. I don't think wine and coffee would mix. There she is. I asked what everybody's been doing, how everybody is, and Grammy says she's doing coffee, quilting, wine, crocheting, and repeating. No, I asked where you were since you weren't one of the first ones to hop on in. And I saw that North Fairy was here and you weren't here yet. Just curious. Oh! What are you picking up for me? Wait, where are you at? Which drive-thru? My yarn's getting a little tangled over here in my bag. It's not too bad. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Does Mandy know that you're watching that? Really? I didn't know that. That Cinderella would be into that. Well, maybe, yeah. Okay, I could see that. I've never seen that. I've only ever seen the original miniseries that came out back in the 80s. I know it's all based on the same thing. I know it's a different telling of it. I'm assuming it's. Wait, am I right? Is that the same thing? It's based off of Anna Green Gables, right? Or am I? Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, I've never seen N with an E. I've only seen the, like I said, the miniseries back in the 80s. Nothing wrong with that. So, I don't think she would mind me saying this, but Cinderella, you missed it yesterday. Oh, what happened to you? You didn't hit a Hobby Lobby sale because they're closed on Sundays. I feel a sneeze coming on. Oh, oh, excuse me. Oh, hey, my my big adventure, and Grandma doesn't even know this yet. I took, well, shouldn't say that because I don't. I took something down and put it away. That's all I want to say. I don't want to give out to the internet certain info, but anyway. Oh yeah, you had mentioned that you were getting that bag. Um, aw. So, what? Well, like, what's the brand or the name or the style of the bag or whatever? Is it similar to mine, or is it more of like a tote? I mean, mine's kind of like a tote. Because she rode the train twice. That's cool. Okay, so yeah, similar to mine. Oh, I like purple, as you can tell. As soon as you type that, I'm thinking, okay, Quad City DJs. If anybody gets that reference. But like I was saying earlier, I don't think she would mind me saying this. But last night, for anybody who was not here, Clean Miko fought her nemesis and won. Clean Miko fought her nemesis, the Granny Square, and she conquered her. So, we've got people conquering grannies. Not to be confused with Grammy. No, I haven't showed it. I can show it here. Let me pull it up. I figured that you'd let me show it. It's Granny Square. There's her very first Granny Square that she successfully did. And it looks amazing. Just like your Cinderella that you showed me. Hey, you did great. And the when you were crocheting along with me last night with the corner to corner in the example you showed me, you did great on that. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert on corner to corner. I've never made a full project corner to corner. I know the concept and how to execute it. I've never made an actual full project. Oh, thank you for the follow, Missy Mouse. I need to figure out more with Twitch. Um, oh yeah, Cinderella figured out how to do Magic Circle and to do a actual round, which we will probably Tuesday night after we get done temperature blanket, because we always have that extra. Well, thank you. We always have that little bit extra time on Tuesdays. I will probably touch on Magic Circle and doing actual circles instead of squares. I was going to say something. Oh, I have to figure out. I have to talk to my friend who. I don't know if no, he doesn't have it. I have to look into. Some streamers have all these extra bells and whistles and stuff. They have this thing set up that anytime someone follows, it makes a little noise and a little graphic on screen and some cool stuff. So I'll have to figure out how to implement that. That's behind the scenes type things. So Missy Mouse kind of explain what I'm doing. I'm doing a temperature blanket, and real brief and real quick, I find the high temperature of the day in my location, and I record it, and I select a range of colors that you can see above my head. Um, Oh, he has all that stuff for a stream. I gotcha. So I've got a range of colors associated with a range of temperatures, and wherever that high temperature of the day should fall will tell me what color to choose. So this will, I do not know how this is all going to end up I'm doing this for the whole year. So by the end of the year, I won't know. Well, right now, I won't know what it's going to look like until we've reached December 31st. But I have my YouTube channel, which is linked below. I have my first video on it. My first stream is uploaded on there, and it goes into detail of how to set it up. And you don't have to do it a full year. You don't have to do a large blanket. I'm doing about a queen size blanket. You could do smaller projects like Clay Miko here. She's doing a smaller blanket, and for temperatures in the past for when she was pregnant with her daughter. So it doesn't have to be current temperatures. You can any type of record that you have. You can also do scarves and other types of items. Hey, I've got a whole bunch of yarn like that. It's like I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe at some point it'll give me some inspiration. And so you hit another sale. Oh, see, you're in a warm climate? Okay. Oh, well, welcome from Australia. I'm here in the good old United States of America on the East Coast. Welcome. It's always good to have new international people, and actually people from wherever. Never been to Australia. I've kind of thought about it and dreamed about going, but never been. But it's got to be early in the morning there. Where I am, it's about 8:30 in the evening. Yep, I'm going to look at her picture now. Oh, of her temperature. Oh, wow. This is her progress she's made on her temperature blanket for when she was pregnant. That is beautiful. You picked really good colors. They work really well together. So you know what we're gonna do? That's gonna give some more info. If you don't mind me, I'm gonna put it right up here. I gotta make it a little bit smaller so you can kind of see everything. I'm gonna use that as a little bit of inspiration. If anybody asks, I'll credit you for it. That's gorgeous. Okay, so that was last Sunday. Now I'm ready to do the next row, which again was purple. Flipping and everything over. But yeah, you're right, Missy Mouse. I can understand it being a little warm there because you're in what? You're in summer there. Here in the U.S., we are definitely in winter. I mean, it's been chilly. Recently, it hasn't been really, really cold. I mean, around Christmas, it got super cold. Like, we had temperatures in single digits Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius for non US people. It is bitterly cold. Definitely below freezing. Let me zoom into what I'm working on. So, Cinderella, you said you got some yarn that had some like eyelashes or fur on it? Thing. Oh, text me where? Oh, okay. Have you ever worked with any yarn that has got lashes or eyelashes on it? Depending on how much it has, which I don't think a scrubby top yarn is going to have that much, it can be a little bit of a challenge. Okay. Yeah, that stuff you had the other day was that was definitely a bulky or a super bulky yarn. Okay, I think you should be fine then. You did good. And that being a circle, again, with circles, the important thing with circles is counting. And stitch markers come in handy. Get everything going the right way. Grammy's probably busy crocheting at the moment. What she's working on is gorgeous. I don't have any the examples that she's done yet. Oh, cool. Let me move this off screen. But I'm going to show you the pattern that, where's it at? I think that's what it's called. Oh, here it is. This is a pattern that she's doing. She got it on Ravelry. For those of you who don't know what Ravelry is, it's a site for knitters, crocheters, weavers, fiber art, that type of thing. And they have free and paid patterns and supplies and a whole bunch of different things. This is a free pattern that she found, and I think it's cool looking. It's called the Northern Diamond Square. And let me see if I can make this bigger. It's a granny square, but you do these specialized stitches, and then when you put them together, four together, they kind of create this extra circular pattern with the decorative stitches. So I think when she's working on it, it's going to come out wonderful. But again, this right here is an example on Ravelry. This is not her. That's not her, any of her work. But this is, and again, this is free. That's another example of the exact same thing, just different colors and how you place the blocks. There's that. I'm just going to scroll through some of these pictures that people have uploaded. There, that right there, that's like a little, I guess, a pillow of some sort. They put a button in the center. Oh, keep crocheting. That's ugly. I don't like that color combination. But that's my personal choice, my personal preference. There are those. So you can kind of, I guess, choose your colors and go from there. But she showed it to me the other day, and that is pretty cool. But yeah, it's called the Northern Diamond Square on Ravelry, and it's a free pattern. And they have tons and tons of patterns, both paid and free, on there. So if anybody wanted some inspiration, besides my channel, check it out over there. I don't know if they have any video tutorials on that site. They might have some that you have to purchase. what I've done, which like what you said with that project sheet for a pillow, not actually make a pillow, use it for inspiration for another project. Still quite a bit in there of that color. The North Fairy said he was in the drive-through. What is he getting? What drive-through? Well, I know of a drive-through that you can get beer, but not chicken nuggets at the same time. Cinderella does too. I don't know if he went to the drive-through to get the beer. Yep, yep, that's it's the same place me and Cinderella were thinking was Frank's. Oh yeah, Popeyes is next door to Frank's. Well, I hope so. Beer for Daddy and nuggies for the 2-year-old. Maybe the nuggies are for Daddy also, and Mommy. Actually, you know what? That might sound a little more appropriate. Getting near the end of this row. Be row 2 for me for the night. And next row we will change colors, because the following 2 days did warm up. Yeah, they don't have that anymore. But during the holidays, they still have the Cajun turkey. Oh, me too. Dirty rice is so good. Even though it's got stuff in there that kind of, the thought of it grosses me out, but I'll still eat it. Chicken livers. Yeah, Grammy does make good dirty rice. It makes good everything. Actually, that's a good way to think about it, North Fairy. But there's certain animal parts that I don't want to eat. Maybe if they could be used other ways. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I shouldn't have finished that stitch because I need to change colors. So we're back to blue. I got a blue already. Red snips. What tail? There's no tail in the middle of the work. No tails. It was just some of the other tails from previous rows that were just hanging over the fabric. DuckTales. Yes, it's DuckTales. And then Rescue Rangers. middle of the top. Looking. Oh, like right here? Is that what you meant? That I crocheted over it, but I don't think I'm going to do that right now because when I did that, you see this purple line here. I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. So when I'm all done, I'm going to sit there and weave every tail in and do it so you're not going to see that purple line going across those blue stitches. That's all that is. So I'm not weaving in the tails as I go. I think it's because of this pattern. Normally I would, but I don't think that it looks that good when I do it that way. But that's everyone's preference. Into blue, which means it's warmed up 4 degrees compared to the previous day, but that day it was 50, which puts it in the blue range. What section? This section here? Because every other day it was going between the 40s and 50s, back and forth, and then we had 3 days in the 40s and now back to the 50s. But like down here we had 4 days in the 40s. Again, it's whatever the weather tells me to do. And this stitch, I love this stitch. This is, some people call it the moss stitch. I think that's really what a lot of people call it. Didn't you call it the zipper stitch, I think? Because it looks like a zipper. It looks like the teeth of a zipper being closed. Don't do it. Don't frog that Mexicana yarn. Leave it, and for that color range, pick a different color and continue on. You'll just have those couple rows at the end. If you frog it, you're going to have to frog the entire thing. And you're well into a month of it. I think it looks fine. And it would be a good way to use up all that Mexicana yarn. I mean, true, it is 27 days. I mean, still early. It's not like it's like 4 months, but still 27 rows. Okay, that's potential. Potential means it doesn't mean it's already happened. We can't, this is not a temperature forecast blanket. This is a temperature blanket. Well, the whole blanket's not in the Mexicana yarn. The Mexicana yarn is that rainbow color. I've got some. Here it is. That's the Mexicana yarn. It's bright, all different colors. She just used it as one of her temperature ranges. And yes, Olay. Um, she doesn't like it with the other colors. And me and Grammy think it both thinks it's fine. But I think the reason she doesn't like it is because it's a variegated. It's the lighting. Yeah, if you're able to send me a pic. Facebook Messenger would probably be the best. Or there's a way that you could do it here on Twitch, but I don't know how to do it on your end. It's because I think she was using it where I have my green. I think it was her 60-degree temps. I think. It was near the beginning of it. And I think it's just because it's jarring, because it's a variegated, and all the other ones are solids. Oh, here we go. Open the messenger. Here we go. This is the Mexicana. You see the Mexicana is here at the bottom, and all the other ones. It doesn't look that bad. Because you've got the blues and the reds in the rest of it, and it picks it up. It should be fine. Like I told her, I said leave it, and for whatever range. Oh my God, stop, North Fairy. We're trying to encourage her. It said either leave it there, and then that temperature range, whatever that range is, change it to another one. So going forward, you'd use a different color. It would just be at that end. Or frog the whole thing out and start over, which is going to be a pain. I think it's fine. The other pic, you sent me another pic. I like that. I like that. Okay, she sent me a pic. This is not the bag. She said this is not the bag that she got, but this, I'm assuming you found this somewhere. Somebody had uploaded it, and it says my favorite aunt made me a whip bag. This is what she found. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Again, this is not what Cinderella is using for her yarn tote. I mentioned to Grammy and Cinderella the other day that I think I was watching some YouTuber that it was a crocheter, and I think they were gifted a T-shirt. Somebody had sent it to them, and it had it looked like a crochet hook, and above it says I have a 9mm and I know how to use it. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, I think that Mexicana yarn should be fine. I like that too. Okay, she just sent me a meme. I'll just let y'all read it. That's pretty cute. Hey Matt, I gotta redo that stitch. Okay. I'm thinking when I get to the end of the show, I'm gonna take a little break and I gotta go get something to drink because my glass is empty. I'll wait till we get to the end of the row. So how are the chicken nuggets? That sucks. That actually sounds good. No Cinderella. She's probably going to want some snow caps. I would sing that jingle, which I can't, but y'all thinking about it. The old fashioned something about going to the lobby, like the olden days. Yes, yes, let's all go to the lobby. Wow. The way I was reading it, I didn't see the microwave popcorn at first, and I'm like, it said, do what? That's a lot. Wait, microwave popcorn? I don't add butter to my microwave popcorn. Wow. Do we want to share the same soda? Yes, because it's not cheap. But no, movie theater popcorn. The best part, the popcorn's usually always stale, which I'm okay with that, unless they have that golden nectar from the gods, that liquid oily butter. Do you guys remember the? Well, it's the people in here that know me personally. Do you remember the Dollar Theater on Jumpers and whatever day? No butter, no butter, no salted popcorn would probably be the best. But the Dollar Theater, there was whatever day it was. You could bring in your own container, no matter what size it was, and fill it up for a really good price. It was really stale popcorn. Okay, the next row is blue. Oh, no, I don't know about movie theater lobby scented Febreze. Popcorn and sugar and. Mm. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick little break just to go get some something to drink. I'll be right back. I'm back. Oh, God. Come back to seeing that in my chat. Two purple. No, two blue. I know. And they didn't have popcorn or snow caps or anything in the lobby. All they had was iced tea. Sorry. Yeah, peanut M&Ms could work. Because they're not messy. Um, you don't want anything that's got sugar coat that's super sugary where sugar can fall off, or salt. You don't want anything greasy or oily. Yeah, I think M&Ms would probably be the best. You don't want any caramel because that would be. We're not getting into that controversy with the M&Ms. Grammy, we don't measure blankets in months. Well, yeah, it will take months, but like inches or feet. How do you convert 9 months to feet? No, no, that's something else, Grammy. Exactly. That's what Cinderella is asking. If it's going, what size it will be, not duration. I don't remember what she said it was going to be. Ew. Milk duds are nasty. And I don't like that salty sweet combination. Cinderella, what was that? Cinderella, what was that? That mix, that Halloween party you went to the other year that your friend was having, and what was in it? Isn't it something like marshmallows and... Was it that? No. No, no, no. It was marshmallows and goldfish. I think that's what you said. Like goldfish crackers and mini marshmallows. I had a friend online. He loved his candy, and he loved M&Ms, and M's, and he loved Skittles. And we were sitting talking one time, and as a joke, I said, "You know what you should do?" I said, "You should take a bag of plain M&Ms and M's and a bag of plain original Skittles and mix them all together into a bowl and just eat them by the handful." And then he tried it, and he was like, "Oh, that was actually good." I'm like, "Ooh," and I said, "You could call it S&M, Skittles, M&Ms." He was weird. Wilford Brimley approves. Stop. You know, years ago when he died, I didn't realize he was like that as old as he was. Because for the past 40 some years, he looked like he was like in his 80s. Wilford Brimley. Yeah, he also did. Was it the Campbell Soup commercials? He was an actor. He was in a bunch of different things. He was in Cocoon. Campbell Soup. It was one of those commercials back like in the 90s he would do. But he always looked old. Yeah, that's what it was. The besides the Campbell Soup, he did it for the diabetes. It was the Liberty insurance thing, I think, or something along those lines. No, the medical um, supply subscription thing for diabetes, whatever that thing was called. Oatmeal. Yes, that's what it was. Yeah, I think he did Quaker Oats. I knew it was something like warm and because I remember like there was a bowl of something there was steam coming off of. So that's what I was thinking. Soup. Oh no, I never liked Seinfeld. He was on a lot of things. the desk with my hand. A bit of a knot. Not good. That's why we've come to the end of that ball. We might have to find another blue tonight. Keep going until I can't go any longer with this strand. Neon blue. I don't think I have enough any bright blues for it. I have small little mini skeins. Might end up having, I think I'm probably, yeah, I'm going to have to change color in the middle of this row because I don't think I'm going to have enough of this unless I have another thing of this color blue. Either way, I'm going to have to change in the middle of a row. Kind of like I'm playing yarn. I'm actually playing yarn chicken, and I know I'm going to lose because I've got about a foot and a half left, roughly. Okay. I'll find one that's going to be different because I don't think I have any more of this color. And yeah, I'm going to lose yarn chicken on this. I'll find one that's going to be similar, but not, I don't think I have anything the same. Couple more stitches. Hook erase. Yep. Now, yarn chicken is mainly when you come to the end of a project and you really don't have enough to do to finish it. The thing that you could do to win yarn chicken is rip out the entire row and do a slightly different stitch, like a slip stitch, because that uses a lot less yarn to finish it. So I've got about 8 inches left of yarn here. I got to go find another ball of yarn. And I don't think I have any blues not in there. Be right back. Over to my stash. Okay. So I do have some of the same. So I can join and keep the color. Or did you want me, this is, after this row of blue, I'm going to switch to purple. So I don't know what would work best. Oh, God. So I only have, can we zoom out a little bit more? I've only got that much longer to go. I've got a little over a foot. The next row I'm going to add to this is going to be purple. Because, yeah. I think I'm going to end up continuing the same color just for another foot because I think it's going to look totally weird. But that's my other blue that I have. Okay. That's what I can change this because this right here is the last of the temperature blanket I'm doing tonight. Tuesday I'll do the next 3 rows. So this will be the last of the temperature blanket for tonight. I'll change over to this so you can see what it's going to look like. I can easily frog out a foot. That's what I'll do. I will eventually use the same color. If it was more mid-row, I'd probably be okay with changing a totally different color. Oh, that's a mess. Exactly, and it's only a foot. It's not like it's the entire row. Okay. Let me move this without knocking my iced tea over, because I don't want to have to go to the lobby again. Yes, I know, come August, we're going to have a whole lot of big old mess of blanket everywhere. I'm going to fit it on the desk and cam everything. The cam. Okay, I could do a couple more stitches, so that tail's kind of long. So let me do maybe one more stitch. Okay. So I'm gonna this right when I just did our chain stitch, and now we're gonna go in to do our single. So we're gonna go in, pick up the yarn, bring it up, and there's 2 on the hook. And again, for changing colors, regardless of the stitch, even if it's a more complicated stitch, once you get to this point of the stitch, the finishing part, before you yarn over and finish off for the last time, leave it, drop your tail, and it kind of goes the same thing when you end a row and change colors, the exact same way. You're just changing in the middle of the row instead of at the end of the row. So you leave a tail, you put the new color on the hook, I can get it on the hook, and bring it through. And we've got like a loose mess here with these stitches. So I'm going to pull the dark blue tail and the royal blue tail together and tighten up that stitch. I'm going to weave in my tails at the very end, even the ones that are done here mid-row. So I finished it off. And this dark yarn is not really the best to show you on camera. Oh, that's snagged. So I finished off the stitch with the new yarn. And then we're just going to continue our pattern like nothing ever happened. It's just a different color. Yeah, I will definitely go back and frog this row out to put the same color in. But that's how it's going to look if you change colors mid-row. Then on the back side is where the tails are. So imagine another row here. When I actually do the other row, that'll be purple on top here. But on the back side, you'll have these tails. And all I'm going to do is I'll take my needle and weave this tail into the dark blue stitches. And if I was going to keep the royal blue, I'd weave them into the royal blue stitches. That way you wouldn't be able to see where the extra tails. You'd hide them in your work, like normal. But since I have more of that darker blue, I'd be able to finish this row with it. Yeah, you can, yeah, make certain that you have enough for the new row. Or if you're okay with finishing that row with a totally different shade of that color. If you're doing it like with me, mine's going to be more scrappy. So eventually I'm going to run out of this dark blue. But I've got plenty of other shades. So other days we'll do it. I don't really want my entire row to be scrappy. I mean, it might get to that point where come to the end of the year, it's like, oh, I really don't want to have to buy a whole new thing of blue just to finish it. I got a small little multiple colors, then I'll do it that way. But if you want your entire row to be the exact same color, like kind of like what um, Clay Miko's doing, she has set colors that she has chose that temperature range is that color. Hers is different. Hers is more following the exact chart. Mine's a little more free form that I can use whatever because I want a more scrappier look. But that's how it would look. But I will go back and frog it out and redo it. But not on stream. It's just about a foot. So what I'm going to do tonight, and I'm going to do a recap of Saturday. Um, since you weren't here the other day. Get I gotta find my sample. I gotta find a yarn to use. My sample and that baby blue works great, but I've already done that. You guys have been watching long enough. What colors tend to show up a little better for you guys? The time you can do our own green, but purposely change the shade of green multiple times. Yeah. Back to that. Real quick. What some people do, and this doesn't have to be a temperature blanket. It could be any blanket that you're doing. It could be anything you want, depending on how you want it to look. But in the case of a temperature blanket, I just did January 25th. That was this last row I did. So let's say January 25th, if I wanted to, if that day has meaning, if it's an anniversary, if it's a birthday, if it's whatever, if you want to highlight it, this is what you could do. You could either do that color, that whole row, in a totally different color that's not on your chart to highlight it, or you could do most of it in the blue, in my case, or whatever color you're using, and however often you figure out how far into it, do a section of stitches, maybe a foot, maybe even like 4 or 5, in a totally different color that's not in your chart. So when you look at it, you'll be like, oh, well, that's so-and-so's birthday, or that's the anniversary, and that's this, and that's that. And that's where changing the color, like I did here, would apply. You could always do a more contrasting color that would stand out. That out. All of that in the bag, and it's not going to be able to fit in the bag much longer. Okay. That's going to be too dark. You all have watched me long enough. What colors tend to show up a little better on screen? Not just the color, but the stitches. Because I think you all said the pink might not work. Oh, I mean, use up your shade of whatever color you're on. Okay. So technically you could do a row in light green, but purposely change shades of green multiple times in a row, okay? To use up your shade of whatever color you want. Yeah. Let's say, good example I have right here. These are all my tiny little skeins of yarn that are too small to really wind onto a cake. Okay? Imagine these were all green. And they were all different shades of green. So what I could do is one row, pick up one, use it all, and then go to the next one, and then go to the next one, and so on until they were all gone. But that whole row would be green. There'd just be multiple shades. You can do whatever you could do. And if you had tons and tons of little mini skeins, tons of them, you could do the whole thing like that. It would be very busy. You're an artist. You choose whatever color, and yeah. If you wanted to, my blanket is 400. Well, it's 400 stitches, but it's 200 singles and 200 chains because it's every other stitch. So if I wanted to, I can do 5 in one color, in one shade, and then 5 in another, and 5 in another, and 5 in another, and then repeat it. Those 5 shades repeated over and over. That's a lot of changing colors, but if that's what you're going for. And it doesn't have to be a temperature blanket. It could be any blanket. It could be any project. That's just choosing colors. Okay, we said tan, light blue, pink, no sad green. I don't have enough sad green. And that's going to be too dark. Something to contrast with green matte. No, you're not holding anything up. I can always put down white paper to help with the contrast. So if I do white, obviously I'm not going to do white yarn. I just don't want anything too dark or something that's going with the lighting and everything to mess up seeing how the stitches are formed. Because the other day, my sample was the green. I don't have any black paper. Actually, do I? I might have some somewhere, but I don't have anything right at hand. So my original sample was green. But what I did on stream the other day was this light blue. I really don't want to frog all this out. I can as a sample. But I can do, you said what, pink, tan? That's got, tan has got a sample. Well, that can be frogged out. Is the pink really going to work? Yeah, I can adjust how much light. Like, that's all the way open, and I can change it a bit. Well, that's off. And I can change it more to this side. Yeah, it's because I have... Is that... Yeah, that got rid of the shadow. I mean, I'm always going to have a shadow of some sort. Because it's light. I don't have... Let's see. There's got to be a shadow because my camera... The light is above my camera. Is that better? I know there's a shadow over here. Flick your light. Okay, that's off. We have to have it on. Technical time. Technical. That's all the way on. All the way open. It's a, I can't take it down because it'll mess up my whole system. No. It's a cake. It's a tabletop lamp that when it's off, it's closed, but it opens up. Actually, Grammy gave it to me. Okay, so we can use the white background, and I will try to technical difficulties. I'll try to work over here, and I can always move it up closer to the camera and zoom in. So we have our tan, our pink. We can't use white if we're using a white background. And light blue. Now it looks all washed out. Why does it look like that? Oof. Sorry. Yeah. When I go to do the stitches, I'll zoom in. But I just want to make certain that we have a light enough yarn that you can see where the stitches go. Pink is the one that I don't have to frog. I'd have to frog the tan or the blue if we're going to do tan or blue. Which I'd be willing to do that. Pink. If we start doing pink and it's difficult to see, I can always switch over to one of the other colors. Move everything away. So we're just going to recap, and since Cinderella wasn't here, this is brand new information for her. And I kind of told her briefly about it the other day. So it's corner to corner. We're just doing solid color today. Just solid color. We're not changing colors. That's for this coming Saturday. That gets more involved and more intense. So this is what our sample is going to look like. And if you look, they're made up, each little section is made up of a square. There's a square here, a square, a square. They're little squares. And this yarn, this is a cotton yarn, it's not really the best to use because you can see a lot of the holes. You're still going to see some of the holes when you use other yarn, but this cotton yarn is not really a fluffy yarn, so it magnifies the holes. But I just did this so you can kind of see the square structure. Like I said the other day, with corner to corner, you can have with corner to corner, you can have instructions that are written out. And it'll say square 1, this color. And then it'll say square 2, these colors or whatever. We're not getting into how it's written out. I'm going to show you with a chart, because most likely there's going to be a chart involved. Some people work better with the chart. Some people work better on how it's written. So here's a sample chart. This is the same chart I used for this. It's all green. We're not doing anything. No pictures. We're not changing colors today. So corner to corner means you start at one corner and you're going to work your way across, each time increasing, until you get to your finished length and finished width. And once you get to both of those, and they don't have to be the same number. So these are seven long and 7 wide. It can be a rectangle. It could be 6. It could be 10 by 7. It could be whatever. It's usually going to be a square or rectangle. Once you get to your maximum on each side, then you will start decreasing until you get down to 1. With corner to corner, you always start with row 1, and row 1, it's not a row as in back and forth this way. They're diagonal rows. So row 1 is this square here. Row 2 is this square and this square. 3 would be this one, and this one. So when you make them, you're going to make your square, and you're going to travel basically in this direction. And then you're going to get to here, and you're going to do this square and this square. And then this one, this one, and this one. So you're always going back and forth. You do flip your work, but essentially you're going back and forth like this. That's how you follow a pattern. So we're going to start with the pink. Imagine this is all pink. It doesn't matter what color is on here, as long as you assign it to an actual color of yarn. So corner to corner, you're going to put a slip stitch on your hook. And let me zoom on in. And we're going to chain 6. But first we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And on that third one, move your fingers, your thumb and middle finger, or however you hold it on your non-hook hand. Hold that chain. So that's 3. And then do another 3. Like I mentioned yesterday, the reason you're holding that is so you don't have to constantly count, because you're going to be doing a lot of chains in this. And anytime you do 6, you're first we're establishing it, this first square, but then we're also going to use it anytime we increase the number of squares in a row. So the 4th chain from the hook is where we're holding our thumb and middle finger. Into that 4th chain, you're going to put a double crochet. So our first 3 chains and then our additional 3 chains. Those additional 3 chains is our turning chain. That counts as a double crochet. And in the 4th chain from the hook, we put another double crochet. So we have 2. And again, if you're crocheting along and I'm going too fast, let me know. So you do 6, the 4th one from the hook, you're putting a double crochet into that chain. You're going to have 2 additional chains. In those 2 additional chains, each of them is going to get a double crochet. So double crochet into the next chain and double crochet into the following chain. So this is a square. It doesn't really look like a square, but that is one square on your chart, and that is comprised of 4 double crochets. 3 actually into the chain, and then the 4th one is our turning chain. So now we're going to flip our work, not our hook. Your slip knot and your tail is always going to point towards you, because the pattern here, it's the corner. The first corner is always going to be towards you. So this is our first corner. That actual slip knot will be your very first corner of your piece. So we've done row 1. So where we've got our pen, so we can cross off yes, okay? So we're back to this. So all we did is we chained 6. In the 4th chain from the hook, we put a double crochet. And in the 5th chain, we did a double crochet. And in the 6th chain, we did a double crochet. The 4th, 5th, and 6th are actually the very first chains you made when you made your original chain. Does that make sense? Doing 1 double crochet into each chain. Okay? But when you did your chain, just want to clarify, when you did your original chain, you had 6. Those 3 that you did here, the very last 3 that you did on your original chain, those count as your first double crochet. So you can kind of see 4. There's 1 here, There's a second one, a third one, and this counts as your fourth double crochet. This is actually made as a chain, but it counts as a double. Okay? So now you just take your work and flip it over. Keeping your slip knot in that position. Your slip knot never changes. Imagine this is on an axis, like you know how the world spins or a globe. Imagine the axis is there, you just flip it. We haven't got there yet. We haven't got to the chain yet. I'm just showing you that that is our first row. So if you have a chart, and it's good to print a chart, and I showed it yesterday, and I can always send you a link. There's a website, it's a free website, you can make your own patterns and charts, not only for crochet, any type of crochet, but also knitting and cross stitch and anything that uses a grid. Quilting, all the type of thing. So it's good to have a printed thing to reference. So now we're going to do row 2. So we're increasing because row 2 is wider than row 1 because we only have one here. Row 2 is going to have 2 squares. So we're increasing. So to increase, you're going to chain 3. You're holding in your hand the square in the exact same orientation. That doesn't change. So we chain 3. We're going to pinch and hold that third chain, and then do 3 more chains. Again, pinching and holding that chain is so you don't have to go back and count all the time. You know where it's at. So now you've got 3 chains. We're pinching the third one. We have 3 extra ones. So you have a total of 6. So does that make sense? Our original square is in the flip position that when we flipped, it's still there. It's not moving. And we did 6 chains, but on the third one, we're going to hold it. Now, in that where we have our thumb, in that 4th chain from the hook, we're going to do a double crochet into that 4th chain from the hook where you pinched and held it. So now we have 2, our turning chain and the one we just made. And we have 2 more chains. Because again, we had 3, then 3. The first 3 counts as a turning. So there's our 2 doubles. And in the next chain, we'll do another double. And then our last chain, because we're getting closer to our original square, we'll do an additional double. Each square is made up of this section, of this segment. So each square is going to have 6 chains, and then the third one from the hook. So the third chain from the hook, you'll do a double, then the next one do a double, and then the last one do a double. Let me know when you get to that point. It looks really weird right now. It looks like a tangled mess. But once you get to the first couple rows done, it will kind of make sense. And I'm hoping the stitches are showing up well enough in this pink yarn. Need some more drinky. Okay. We haven't got there yet. Okay. The way we're going to attach it so it's going to look like this. Now, I'm going to zoom in, and just so you can look. This square, the stitches are running this way. But this square, the stitches are running that way. That is the pattern, and I don't know why it's so blurry. I think it's the lighting. Oh, it's because I'm zoomed in so far. That's why. So when we're going to attach it, if you notice, our loop is right here. It's closer to here. We're not down here. We're not going to do extra stitches. That will make extra bulk to attach it into these individual stitches. When we attach it, we're going to attach it from here to here, because that's where it is. You're going to have these holes. So to attach it, in our first square, there's this chain. See this chain here on the edge? In that space, not in the stitch, but in the space, you're going to go insert your hook, yarn over, and bring it up through that loop. So again, into that chain space, yarn over, bring it up through the loop, and then we're going to put this loop through that. We're slip stitching it together. And the reason we can't really do it the other way is these stitches are going this direction, and these are going opposite directions. They're not square sitting nicely on top of each other. The stitches run perpendicular to each other. Slip into the chain space. Meaning, like with grannies, you're going to slip into that hole. Not into the individual chain, but into that chain hole that's formed. So you're not finding individual chains, you're finding that hole that's open, like on a granny square, and then slip stitch it. So after you do that, after you connect it, you've done the next square. Kinda. Now, if we look at our chart, we've done this square and this square. Well, row 2, we need a square here. So on our work, we need a square where the hook is in this area. So to do that, we're chaining 3. That is going to count as our first double crochet. And then this part's easy. And it's, see the same chain space that we had from before, where we slip stitched it. After we chain 3, that counts as 1 double crochet. Then we're going to, into that space, we'll do 3 more double crochets. Kind of like a cluster on a granny square. So we're going to yarn over, because it's a double. Insert it into the chain space. Reach over, reach under, yarn over, bring it up. 3 on the hook, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. We've got 2 double crochets. I'll do that 2 more times. All in that same chain space, not into individual chains. And it's going to look a little weird. There's nothing really there structurally holding it. So now we've completed our 3rd square. This was row 1. And then row 2, they're diagonal from each other. So on our chart, we can cross off the second one on row 2. Does that make sense? It looks a little weird, but once we establish it, it will grow and it will kind of formed the way it should be. Now it kind of looks like a heart, or an L, or a P, or the other people think, they look at it and they're like, it's stair steps. And that's a good way of looking at it, because that's how you're going to build it. Block by block by block. So to recap this square, once we've attached with a slip stitch this square to this one, once we attached, we joined it with a slip stitch, we're going to chain 3 and then do 3 doubles all into that chain space. That's how you do that square. And if you notice, row 1, the stitches run this way. Yeah, that happens to me too. If I'm doing all these different stitches, like this project's doing that one and that one, it's like, okay, how do I do it again? So did you have to frog this? You're up to this point here? So if you notice on row 1, the stitches are going to run this way. All odd numbered rows, the stitches are going to run this way. All even numbered rows, the stitches are running this way. So like this is row 2, they're going to go in the opposite direction. Okay, that's fine. If you mess up in the beginning, it's fine. That's how we learn. So if we've got 3 squares and they're in this L-shaped formation, we've got to the end of the row. So all we're going to do is flip our work, which flip it however you want to flip it. It doesn't matter if you flip it that way or if you flip it that way. However you want to flip it, whatever works. And then when we flip it, we're increasing. So we're going to repeat how we started row 2. So we're going to chain 3 after we flipped. And again, the entire time, this slip knot and our tail is pointing right at us. So we've chained 3 because we flipped. We've chained 3. Hold the 3rd chain with your fingers and then chain 3 more. Anytime you're adding an additional row, you'll do this. Think of it this way. The first 3 chains here are going to form the side of your work, and the last 3 chains are our turning chain to make the square. So after we have our 6 chains, again, the 3rd one from the work or the 4th one from the chain, however you want to look at it, you're going to do a double crochet into that chain. Again, that turning chain counts as a double. So we have 2 doubles. Do another double crochet into the next chain. And a final crochet, double crochet into the last chain. So now we got a little hangy square. And to join it, and the way I described it last night, it looks like a door that's open. You shut the door. We're closing the door. It's like a hinge. So to do it, we're going to slip stitch into the end of this square. That square right there. We're going to go into that chain space. You're always going to go in the chain space and slip stitch it together to join it. That is this square on your pattern. Actually, wait a minute. Wait. Actually, technically on your pattern, it's not that square. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. So technically, if we were doing color changes and doing all of that, technically, this row we'd travel in this direction. We'd go right. And then these we go left, even though you're flipping, just so you can kind of understand. We're not changing colors here. We're trying to get the idea in your head. Row 1, we're going to the right. Row 2, we're going to the left, if we're following the pattern. Row 3, we're going to go to the right. So we just did that one there, even though we flipped. Because in corner to corner, there is no right and wrong side. It's going to look the same on the front as the back. So it doesn't matter about flipping. So we've completed that square. We need a square here. So to do another square, you chain 3, because we've already joined with the slip stitch. You squared it up. We do the same thing. Chain 3, and then in this chain space that's right here, we'll do 3 more doubles. And that's finished that square. And on my chart, I can mark it off. Again, if I'm going too fast right now, but it's the exact same thing you do for each square. They're all identical. It just happens you're growing the numbers per row. So after you've made your square, you're going to slip stitch it to the next square next to it, into that chain space, slip stitch it, shut. Now we've joined it. One thing I'm going to show you right here. Let's say you're making something, I don't know why, but you want to do it corner to corner, but I guess you could. You want to do something narrow. So you're only going to have, let's say it's only going to be 2 squares wide and however squares long. There's a way that you can continue it. You won't increase on this side. What you would end up doing, and again, I know this is getting ahead, and if it's confusing, just listen. What you would do is you would flip and you would slip stitch your way back to here. So you'd slip stitch into all of these stitches back to here, and then you can start doing your squares again. We'll get to that when we get to the decrease. But you can decrease at any time. We're having to do it, me making a square tonight, but that's also how you could do for rectangles. Let's say you have a rectangular blanket. Same type of thing. But we're not doing a rectangle. So we've got our 5 squares, the 4 all together and 1 over here. We need an extra one here because our row on our pattern has got 3 on row 3. So to do the same, you're going to chain 3. Again, let me know if I'm going too fast. You chain 3, and then into that chain space, you do 3 more doubles. And that is row 3 of this pattern. Row 4 is the same way. We're going to flip. And let me know if I've gotten way ahead of you. Let me zoom out a little. So what we have here, we've got 3 rows. We've got square 1 is row 1. These 2 are row 2. And those 3 are row 3. which corresponds to our chart. 1, 2, and 3. Six chains, you flip, and then you do 6 chains anytime you're increasing your row. So row 4 has got more in that row than row 3 does. So you're increasing, you're making it bigger, making it wider. So yes, you do 6 times, you chain, after you flip, you do 6 each time you increase. So we flipped. The whole time, your original slip knot and your tail are pointing right at you. And we flipped, and we will do 3 chains and hold, and then 3 more chains. And where you held it, into that chain, you do a double. And into the next 2 chains, you do a double each. Once you get to this point, it's starting to take shape. So you got the little hanging down thing for the first row. You close the door. Oh, it would help if I put it on camera. You got our first square here for this row. You close the door. You bring them together. And to do that, you slip stitch into that chain space of the next square. Not chain, you slip stitch, yeah. You do a slip stitch. And that will keep it together. It's attached by the chain you did here, and then the slip stitch on the other end. And it's looking like we need a square here. So do our second square. You chain 3. And then to fill in our square, you do 3 doubles. And that has finished that square. And again, to join it, like I said, to shut the door, you're going to join it by a slip stitch to the next square. And that's joined it. And the same thing. You keep going until your row is done. So now, on our chart, okay, row 1 we went that way, row 2 we go that way, row 3 we went that way. So on our chart we're going this way. So we've got that one done, and that one's done. And now we're going to work on the next one, because row 4 has 4 squares. So to do the third square, because we've done 1, 2 on row 4, you do the exact same thing. You chain 3, and then to fill in the square, you do 3 doubles. I finished a square. And yeah, take your time. It's not a race. I know I go a little faster. But it's the exact same thing for each square. And to join it, you join it with a slip stitch into that chain space of your neighboring square. And now we need a square at the end. We need a square here. And if you look, it looks like stair steps. 1, 2, 3. Now we need another stair here to get to the top. Same thing, we just chain 3. And then do 3 doubles to fill the square. How are you doing? How do you decrease? Okay. I'm not going to do a full 7 rows. Do you understand how these are formed, how to increase? If you have got that understood, then I can show you how to do a decrease to the opposite side of the triangle. Okay. Okay, so let's say we're only going to do how many rows did you have? I have 4. Do you have 4? Okay, we're on the same page. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip, and we don't want to add another square here, because if we add another square here, we're going to have 5 rows on this side. We only want to keep it at 4. So we're going to build a square here. So this column, see, okay, the column here on the edge has got 4. We want this column to have 4. So we need a square here. So to do that, on the square you just finished, the tops of the stitches, you're going to go into each individual stitch and do a slip stitch. Just like granny squares, how you would slip stitch to the corner, we're doing the same thing. In the top of each stitch that you did, you go into each one separately and do a slip stitch. And doing that is moving your loop over one at a time until we get to this chain space. Okay, I did all of my doubles. I've slip stitched my way over. And take your time. If it takes you longer to get there, that's fine. Just like a granny square like we had did the other week, we're now at the chain space. We got to go into the chain space to bring the loop over and slip stitch our way into that. So you're going to slip stitch into the chain space, and that makes our loop at the proper spot to do a square. Now it's the same thing. Same thing to build a square. To build a square, you start with 3 chains. And I'll stop there because I know you're probably still slip stitching to the corner. Okay. Hold on. Let me get to where you are. I just frog some out just so I can get to where you're at. So now I got to click over so I can see what I'm doing. So we've slip stitched our way, and now that chain space, remember the chain space that we've been using to make all of our squares? You're going to go into that chain space, that large hole, and slip stitch into it. So you're slip stitching through the stitches and then from your square and then into that chain space of that hole. The very last, the edge of that little block. And this would be the same way. You would do the exact same thing. No. When you flipped your work, your loop was here. Your chain space, you're slip stitching into each individual stitch. Okay? Then when you started here, you're at the top of the double, of the third. Now, that's where I am. You're at the top of the third. Now you're going to put your hook into this chain space, the fourth one, which is actually chains. See that? That's what we've been building our squares off of. You're going to go into there and pull up a slip stitch. So you're going to go in there, yarn over, bring it up, and then bring that same loop through the loop on the hook. Okay? You're just slip stitching over to it. Now you're ready to build a square. You chain 3, And then again, repeat. If you're going to fill in a square, you need 3 more chains. The top of what space? Were you at the top of this chain space? Yes, yes. So if you've slip stitched over to that chain space of this square, because all of this is one square, then you do 3 chains, and then you're going to do 3 doubles into that same chain space, just like you formed all the other squares. And then you do the same thing. After you form the square, you're going to shut the door and close it up. And by doing so, you're going to slip stitch into the next square, so into that chain space of the next one that was already completed, to join it. And now you're ready to make your next one. So you chain 3. Each square is exactly the same. You chain 3, and you do 3 doubles to fill in your square. And then once you filled in your square, close the door. You're shutting them together by joining them with a slip stitch into the previous square. And now you can make your next one. You're gonna chain 3, and then do 3 doubles into that square. 2, 3, and again, we're at the end of the row. We're going to shut the door, close it together by joining with a slip stitch. And now we have, technically that's our 5th row, because we've already done 4. Our 5th row only has 3 stitches in it. So let me know when you get to that point after you make your squares all the way to the end of the row. And this time we're only doing 3 in that row. So we did our first one that we worked on, and then the next 2. Because if we add another one, then we're going to have 5 on the outer row instead of 4. So this sample, we're going to have a 4 by 4 square. Exactly. Because you're coming up here in the middle, you want to be over here. So you're ending here, you want to go up to here. So we're going to flip, and then we're going to slip stitch our way to this space. Slip stitching through your stitches is how you decrease, because you need to get the yarn physically to that spot. And then again, you're going to come up, slip stitch, the very last slip stitch you're going to make is going to go through that chain space with this block you just slip stitched through. And then to make it, you chain 3, and then to fill in, you do 3 doubles. I mean, yeah, that's more of a personal preference. Even regular doing rows, Some people will flip and then chain. I usually chain and then flip. I don't think it really makes that much of a difference. So again, you make your square and join it to your existing work with a slip stitch. And now we need a square here because this row only has 2 in it. So to make the square, you chain 3. That forms the edge of the square. And then you fill it in with 3 more doubles. And to join it, again, closing that door, you join it with a slip stitch. And we finished row, that would be row 6. Now we can flip and slip stitch over to the corner we need to be. We need to be here. We're presently here. We need to be there. So that's the best way in all crochet. If you need to travel it over there and you don't want to make extra stitches, the quick travel is slip stitching. They don't take up much yarn and you don't really see much of it. So now we're at row 7, which is our last row, which is 1 square. Top of the 3rd double crochet. You don't skip any holes. You go into however many, you go into each double crochet, you slip stitch into each one individually, and then you're going to slip stitch into that chain space. You're not slip stitching into a chain. So I've got at the top of my 3rd double crochet, so that's here. You mean that hole? That's not really, that's just how those 2 stitches are connected. That's not really, that's just part of the stitch. That's not really the hole. So yeah, you would skip that. Oh, sorry. So we're at the top of the 3rd double crochet right now. If you mean that hole, that's just part of this where these 2 stitches are joined. So you ignore that hole. So this is the top of the 3rd double crochet is what I'm in. Now I'm going to slip stitch into this chain space. See this large hole? You're going to go into that. That's how we do all of them. We pull our stitch tight. So you go into, yeah, you don't go into that one there. Because that's just how those 2, that chain, which is a double, now that double and the next double are connected to each other. So you're going to go into the larger hole and slip stitch. And that brings our loop into the correct position to do our square. And again, to do our square, you chain 3. That forms the edge of the square. And then 3 more doubles to fill in the square. And now we have our last square. We got to join it together. We're going to slip stitch into the next square. And again, every time we slip stitch, you're going into that big hole, that chain space. No, it's okay. So if you're only doing a 4x4, you're done. You're going to finish, your loop is not going to be on the corner. It's going to be over here at this side. So if you're going to do your whatever project, that's how you're going to end. Keep in mind, this is only using 1 color because I didn't want to get too complicated. I wanted you to understand how the stitch and blocks are formed. That is how each individual block is formed, regardless of color. So again, to recap, this row here, the stitches are going to go this way. The next row, wait a minute. Oh, I flipped it. So this row here, the stitches are going this way. The next row, which is these, they're going the other way. They alternate back and forth. So if you look, you can kind of see how it's like a checkerboard. These are going in this direction, and this one is going in this direction. So every other stitch, and if you hold it this way, you can see how the bottom of this square is matching this one. They form this like stair-step pattern. And the same thing would be true if we flip it over. You'll see the same pattern, but on the other squares. So it is going to have a little bit of holes in it, but depending on the yarn, and if you use a smaller hook or whatever, you can help diminish the look of those holes. I think we've bored everyone else because they saw this on Saturday. Move that out of the way. Well, I think that's it for tonight. I'm getting tired, plus I gotta be up early tomorrow. Oh, that's great. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and new people who followed, and we had somebody from Australia earlier, which is totally cool. Move get paperwork. I will be on. I shouldn't be doing this while I'm streaming, but I'll be on as usual on Tuesday for temperature blanket, and I think what we're going to do after temperature blanket, because we only have 3 rows to do to fill time, we're going to demonstrate on how to do, again, the magic circle, and then how to do circular projects, like complete circles. So not, granny squares go in a circle if you're going around, but they have corners. So we're gonna get rid of the corners and do circles. So that takes some math and some tracking and all. So again, the link to my YouTube channel is down below. As usual, I upload them after every stream. Check that out. I have all my past streams are there. And until next time, everybody, you have a good evening and a good Monday. And happy crafting.